Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Myko Baby Chronicles. My name's Harriet Mandak. I am an empowerment coach. I work with moms to help them overcome and deal with the overwhelm of life that comes with motherhood, reconnect to themselves, and really show up as the most empowered, most authentic versions of themselves in their motherhood. So it is an absolute joy and pleasure to be hosting this amazing group of women today and have a very honest, open chat about maternal mental health. As someone who works in the maternal mental health space, I always relish any opportunities to have conversations like this, because I think it's something that we don't really talk about enough. So firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you to Myko for facilitating this conversation. For those who aren't familiar with Myko, Myko is a new sustainable children's clothing brand in the UAE. They are heavily invested in sustainability and circular fashion in children's wear. I urge you to check out the website, but they are heavily invested in, just really everything kind of sustainable at the core. They have an amazing ethos behind the brand. And I just actually want to give a quick shout out. They have just started this incredible initiative where they basically, when your baby outgrows their clothes, you can drop them an email. They will kind of collect them from you free of charge, dry clean them, and they will donate them to the Dubai Foundation for Women and Children, which is absolutely amazing. And then you will also get 15% for your next purchase as well. So thank you, Myko, for all that you do. Thank you for, bringing us all together today to have this chat. And thank you to my wonderful guests today for joining me. A bit of an early start this morning, so we've all got our coffees on the go. So joining me today on the podcast, I have Chloe Hick. Hello. Who is the co-founder and semi-permanent makeup artist at Browns & Co Salon. I have Sonia Razzaque. Yes, right. Senior Marketing Communications Manager at Burberry. Ashling Cooper, owner of Beauty Works Middle East. Hi, ladies.
Hi. Hello. Happy Friday.
Hi. Yeah. Excited to this chat?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So this is just going to be very much a free-flowing chat, right? But I would love, just to get to know a little bit more about you, for everyone listening to, hear a little bit more about your journey into motherhood. I know we're all at slightly different stages of parenthood with kind of different numbers of children and different ages of children. So, I'd like to, for you just to kind of be really honest and open, share a little bit about how your experience of becoming a mom was. Chloe, can I start with you? What was...
So I have two children, Mila 5 and Ariel 2. So I would say my first journey into motherhood with Mila was very different compared with Ariella, because I learned a lot. With Mila, I suffered quite a lot from mental health, anxiety, probably say like a little bit of depression, and like actually tapping back into that is a bit. But I would say going back to work straight away, that like was a massive trigger for me, and learning.
No, so I think firstly, I think this is a really important. This is why this conversation is important to have, right? Tell me a little bit about your journey into motherhood. You have one.
I have one daughter. She's just turned 1.5. She's called Giselle. I had a bit of a strange start because we got engaged, my husband and I, during COVID. So we were trying to plan the wedding, and I'm getting older. So we also wanted to have kids eventually. The wedding just kept getting postponed. So we just thought, okay, let's just see what happens. We ended up falling pregnant, which was great. And I don't know, I always feel a bit bad saying this sometimes, but my pregnancy journey was actually amazing. I think because I wanted it for so long, everything just felt right. My energy levels were up. I just felt happy and content. Didn't feel sick. So I had a really nice pregnancy. Actually, I was going to Pilates every day. I felt like I had I don't know if you can swear on podcast. Yeah, felt like I had my shit together. But then no one really talks about this, but when you actually give birth, I don't know, I feel like the pregnancy is like a fourth wall. So you're obviously connecting with your baby, and you have imagination of what your child will look like and what it will be like. But the moment you have the child in front of you, I felt like a bit of a disconnect between being pregnant and having the child. Yeah, I felt almost like I grieved the pregnancy. I grieved not being pregnant anymore. I even had phantom kicks sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. And we were just talking before this, but when you're pregnant, people treat you like a queen. They put you on a pedestal.
Yeah.
You don't, it's all about you. And they put your feet up. There's no pressure to do anything but grow this human.
Yeah.
And as soon as the child is born, it's not about you. And all of a sudden you're a mom and you have all these responsibilities, and it's the pressure of that I found very difficult.
Yeah.
Also as a first time mom, and I have nephews, but they live far away, so I've seen them rarely. So I didn't really have that much experience with kids. So not knowing what to do was also, I had a lot of anxiety in the beginning.
Yes.
And obviously the hormones and everything. So you're on this emotional journey as it is, but you always wanted to be a mom, but then you realize you're never going to not be a mom again.
Yeah.
And that realization is tough because you kind of grieve the old you, and you have to take on this new version of you overnight, like literally overnight, even though you mentally prepare for it before.
Yeah. So that you even, I think you raised a really good point there, because that's one thing our society does a really poor job of doing, is actually preparing us for becoming a mom. Like we live in a very kind of consumer and capitalist society that's very focused on like, do I have the right crown? How big is that? And what that looks like? What other car seat am I going to get? And then we'll kind of enter into this like world. And actually, you raise a really good point about hormones. And many of you have come across the word matrescence. Now heard that word. This is part of the problem, right? So matrescence is actually made it into the Cambridge Dictionary last year, which is like huge. But there's still a lot of work to do in kind of actually helping women understand. So matrescence really is the term that encapsulates the process that you go through when you transition from the words that they use are maiden to mother, but essentially not being a mom to a mom. And it sounds a little bit like adolescence, right? Because it's the same, when a child becomes an adult, they go through puberty, they go through massive hormonal shifts, neurological changes, society views them differently, and we give them the space, we give them the understanding that they're going through something on all levels, on a hormonal level, on a physiological level, on a neurological level. You actually have more neurons made in your brain during pregnancy than you do during puberty. We go through the same changes, but no one gives mums that space. And that is what can often feel very destabilizing. You enter into this world with like, and you raise a really good point as well about, the pregnancy is like, put your feet up.
Yeah.
I get ready to say, well, you'll feel that way. And everyone kind of treats you like this thing. And the moment the baby's out, it's like, it's just about the baby.
Yeah. And it's like that forever. You don't have time to be sick anymore. It's just this house and all of that. And don't get me wrong, I love that. Like I love being a mom. But and it took me a while to realize what that contradiction of feelings was, because I was so happy to have her. But I also found myself having moments where I would just go for a little cry in the bathroom and I couldn't understand why. And it's taken about a year for me to understand what that was. And it was just grieving like the old me.
Yeah.
And taking on this new role as a mum. So
yeah, I love that. No, that's a really important. I think that's a really important thing for probably a lot of new mums to hear, that it's okay to feel in this kind of liminal space, I guess, of like feeling sad and grieving the old version of you. Being a bit unsure of this new version of you, and also looking forward to kind of the new evolution of you. I think that's a really, a really important point to raise. Thank you. That was.
So yeah, I didn't really struggle, to be honest, and sometimes it's quite hard to say that, because I feel like we're also in a world where it's kind of like not okay to be okay.
Yes, yeah.
But I did wait later in life to have Henry. So I have Henry, he's 10 months old, and I was 37 when I fell pregnant, so 38 when I had him, and just kind of dealt with it well, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And what do you think, what could you attribute that to? Like if you could, reflecting now, is there anything in particular, or do you just think you had a really strong sense of who you wanted to be as a mum? Because I think that's what often It feels a bit destabilizing, right, for a lot of people.
I think it's maybe because I was quite organised. So I knew he was coming. I knew I wanted him. I'd work and I went back to work straight away afterwards. So I think I kind of knew that I didn't really have time, or maybe it's because I didn't have time to suffer.
Yeah.
No time to suffer.
Too busy.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, so I have Mila, who's 5, and Ariana, who's 2. So yeah, going back to my journey, I got married, like wanted to kind of travel a little bit first, and we fell pregnant quite soon. So I think the shock of the pregnancy kind of like carried on until she was born, and I was quite shocked, like obviously when the baby came. And I think obviously I really wanted a baby, and was really happy that she was here, of course. But I went back to work after, like, of having it, because I think I just was like in this mindset that like nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what took me so long to get over the fact that, okay, like I am a different person now. I've got responsibility, and I can't just go back to the person who I was. And I think that's I've been on like a huge journey to figure out like where I belong now. Yeah, totally. For the girls, and to like be the best person that I can be for them. So yeah, I feel like the first part of my motherhood was a lot harder mentally than my second part. I've learned a lot from it in terms of like my self-work, what I have to do to like mentally stay strong for myself and for them. So yeah, I think like obviously having this conversation is good because, we don't talk about it enough. Yeah. And I think, and we don't talk about the fact that like a lot of women are going through this, but you kind of don't mean to speak about it at that time. It's you just like, everything should be amazing, and I should like feel so much love for this like baby, which I do, but it's also a certain point in my brain that's telling me like what's going on. And I think that's, firstly, really like applauding you and honouring you for sharing those parts of your journey, because as I say, we need to have these conversations, because there is a lot of stigma when there is this kind of like listening, right? But when you become a mom, it's all like rainbows and sunshines, and you feel so grateful. And, of course there are those emotions. Of course, being a mom brings absolute joy and love and gratitude, but it also comes with a lot of other contradictory emotions, grief and boredom, guilt, and we're not really those kind of conversations are shunned in society, and particularly when people frame these as like negative emotions. I talk about this a lot with my clients, right? There are no such thing as negative emotions. All emotions are just information, and we need to get better at understanding that these emotions are just part of the motherhood experience. And that embracing that in itself is the antidote to guilt and the antidote to shame, and having that kind of radical self-compassion for yourself, which I feel like you and you definitely are settling into the second your hands. Yeah, do you feel like inclined to yourself in this? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the guilt's not there as much because I am working on myself a lot more, so I think to just be kind to yourself, and try to just manage what's more important for you at that time in your journey of motherhood. Yeah, I think that's an important point, right? It's like what feels important to you. Yeah, what feels important to you with it. That is going back to work, or that is just having some time off. And I think here as well in the Middle East, you don't get the maternity leave that I feel you should get. And I think, obviously in the UK you can get 9 months off, and I feel like that should definitely be brought here. And some mums, sure, you're away from your family, and so that's that's a big thing. Exactly. Obviously, we're all expats living here. Being away from your family is such a prominent moment in your life where you really need your mum. Sometimes you just need your mum. I found that really, really tough. And my husband was working a lot as well. I was lucky with maternity leave because I work where I gave that little. So I've obviously now, and Like I will literally, anyone who's pregnant, I would give them the opportunity to just take whatever time they want off because
You can understand.
Yeah, and you know how to send it, you know how effective it is.
so that's kind of one thing that I would stand for.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's 4 to 5 days.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because we are obviously lucky to live in a culture where we have more affordable and more readily available access to childcare than perhaps in other, cities in the world. So that's better. But then, systems in terms of kind of maternity with the motherhood is so that maybe if she does work and having to go back after 45 days. That one again, but obviously you got 6 months off.
I got 6 months, so I was really, really lucky with that. But it doesn't compare to being close to your family and So I found that really tricky.
Did you?
Yeah. Because especially because my husband was away a lot, I was literally on my own, right? Okay, with the baby, and I didn't know what I was doing. For I'd say the first 9 months.
I think this is something that. So I talk in the work that I do. I talk a lot with my clients about kind of we do a lot of really understanding the ways in which like our expectations of motherhood are shaped by society, are shaped by our cultures of origin, are shaped by our own families. Like so, we have these kind of stories of motherhood and these expectations. So when we become a mom, we kind of we could feel stuck by it sometimes. And I think one of the things that our society sort of sells us is this kind of intensive mothering ideology that like you as the mother have to be the only and primary caregiver. And actually that's not the blueprint. Like that was never how it was supposed to be done. And you can actually, I won't go into this on the podcast, I won't go into a history lesson, but you can go back, and look at actually like the blueprint is, we talk about this, it takes a village, right? And, if you think about how long kind of humans have been on this earth, nearly all of that time, people have raised children in really small groups.
Yeah.
So, the way people are doing it now, today, alone, very often behind closed doors, particularly post-pandemic, that's not how it was supposed to be done. So, I love having these conversations, and I want to talk a little bit now about kind of support systems that you all have in place, because I think this is just so important to talk about, to really kind of again, we're doing lots of our layering of the shame and destigmatizing here of asking for help, having support, it being okay to have other caregivers in your circle. So can we talk a little bit about that, about what your kind of support system looks like? Ashley, can I ask you that first?
Yeah, sure. So I had a wonderful nanny, Annabelle. I just mentioned earlier, actually, Annabelle came on board 2 months before Henry was here. So for me, it was really important to get a recommendation because I wanted to make sure that I had someone that I could trust and that had great references. And obviously, Annabelle came along and I just wanted her to join us, know us as a family, and me get to know her. My husband actually works away, so I'm a single mum, like 5 days a week. So it was really important for me. There was no question that I could do it on my own. And I'm not ashamed of that. I just think, there's no reason to be ashamed. I don't have a whole village, but I've got Annabelle. So Annabelle's joined, and she's fantastic. And
And can I ask, like, because I think something that comes up a lot with my clients, and that I know a lot of people struggle with when they're searching for, when they do start to go down that road of like, okay, I'm gonna get a nanny or I want some help. Like, is the trust piece? Is that kind of, you have this most precious thing in the world. It can feel a lot, right?
Yeah.
You kind of suddenly, hand over. So that, how have you managed?
Yeah, it was sort of a good 3 months, realistically, that I sort of kept Henry all to myself and just in drips and drabs, like fed things in through to Annabelle. And what's great with that is because she was there, it meant I didn't have to do washing, like cooking, so many other aspects that, there's not just obviously caring for a child. And then eventually let go. And I remember the first time I left him with her. Sounds quite trivial, actually. And it's to go get my eyelashes done. So definitely not really. But I have the Harriet Mandak was in the video. But I sat there, it sounds so bad. We had cameras in our house, and I sat there with my earpods in and listened. Oh, thank you.
We've all been there.
Yeah. But now, like, I just don't even think. I'm just like, Annabelle, perfect. She's absolutely fantastic with him. He loves her, and that's what's important. And I also, which I think comes up quite a lot, I don't get that, like, I'm like, how to, like, I knew I was going to say like 100 times. You know, where you feel like, oh my God, he loves her more than me.
Oh, like, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't get that at all, because I feel like, for me, first and foremost, Henry is happy.
And then, you know, like, he'll always know his right.
Yeah.
I really applaud you for that, because that is, it's hard, particularly actually when you're a first time mom. I went through a similar journey myself. I moved to when my first daughter was, I have 3 children now, but I moved to when my first daughter was 6 months, and knew I kind of wanted to start getting back into the world of work and have some time for myself, and got a nanny, and was just crippled with guilt. And all of those thoughts, like, she's going to prefer the nanny over me. And, you know, it took me a while, actually. I think my second journey of matrescence was a lot easier for me. But, you know, so I really applaud you for having that grounding, because it makes the experience a lot more enjoyable when you are able to just be, you know,
Yeah, and just ask for help. I feel like on Sundays is my day where Annabelle's off and Stephen's back at work because he works in Oman. And it's like single month Sunday, I always call it. And I think, God, I'm so bored.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, because I get to go and leave to go to work, or even just work from home, Henry gets to have the better part of me, because then when I come back in the evening, I'm excited to see him, and I want to play with him, and I want to give him my time. And I know it sounds really bad, but I feel like if I was a stay-at-home mum personally, for me, I would resent it.
Yes, yeah. No, I see that side of it as well. I think that's sort of, you know, again, like, there's no shame in any of this. And I think the important thing is always what feels right to you.
Yeah.
Like, what feels right to you might not feel right to Sonia, might not feel right to Chloe, but that doesn't matter. And I think this is what we can get very, very caught up in motherhood, particularly like this visible world that we live in. Like, you know, social media is an amazing tool for, it's an amazing tool for a lot of moms. It's been an amazing tool for me in many ways, helped connect me with lots of people, but it can also, it makes our lives very visible, and it can also kind of really fuel that sense of like comparison. And something I think that maybe I'd like to pose to you is like a lot of what I see, I mean, I've been through it myself massively, and I still have it. I think you probably will do, is this sense of like, I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't enough. Is that something that resonates? Something else? Has that kind of, is that sense of I'm not doing this right, or the guilt come in at all?
It definitely did in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. And like I said, I was alone a lot of the time. And to your point earlier of childcare is obviously a lot cheaper here. But obviously coming from the UK, if I was in the UK, I wouldn't get help. I wouldn't be able to afford help. So something in me wanted to try and do it by myself and do everything. And I didn't actually get help until she was 11 months, because I really resisted it, even though I was doing everything, sterilizing the bottle, breast pump, all of this. And I did actually really need help, and I resisted it for so long because I just felt like I needed to do everything, because that's how it would be in the UK. I felt like I needed to prove to myself as a mom.
And that's the societal pressures, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not a good mom if I don't do this by myself. Yeah.
I felt like I would be a cop-out, like it means taking the easy road if I didn't do it myself.
Yeah.
So that was one of the feelings to me of like not being enough unless I did everything. And then we eventually got help, and the journey of finding someone was difficult for me, because I was really trying to, I go off energies, and I was really trying to pick someone with the right energy, and someone who I knew would actually care for my child, like genuinely cared for them. We now have one, she's amazing. But yeah, those first 3 months, your whole point of not feeling enough was when that felt the most extreme for me. I felt like I'd given up a little bit, like I'd given control, and I found that really hard. I still wanted to change every nappy. I still wanted to do every milk feed. I still wanted to do every bedtime. I still do every bath time and bedtime. And let her change the nappies. I do a few of that. But yeah, there was a good 3-4 months where I really found it hard to lose control, because it made me feel like I wasn't being the best mom that I can be.
Yeah. And I think that is like that kind of, we attach so much of our worth to our roles.
Yeah.
Like we identify so much with our motherhood or our jobs, and I think this is something that actually, you know, again, takes a lot of work, right, to actually kind of just, come back to that, like, no, I'm enough. I'm enough without, X, Y, Z, and kind of really, detaching your sense of self-worth from your motherhood.
Yeah.
What was the shift for you then? Like,
The shift for me was, first of all, seeing that my child was comfortable with her and that the nanny genuinely cares for her. So that made me feel comfortable about leaving her alone. And also, to your point earlier, the biggest fear for me was that the child would become more attached to the nanny, because I'd seen it in the past. I've seen the children crying for the nanny when the mum's right there. The child wants the nanny more than the mummy, and that was my biggest fear. But it's so clear to me now. She's very aware who her mum is. She loves me to bits, and I love her more than anything. And she loves the nanny, but she knows the nanny is the nanny.
yeah,
And I think as soon as that distinction was clear, it made me feel more comfortable. It wasn't like I was fighting for my child to love me more, which sounds ridiculous, but that's almost how it felt in the beginning. I didn't want, which is crazy, because of course I want my child to form bonds with other people, but I didn't want their bond to be stronger than mine.
yeah, it's not crazy at all. It's not, and I think I probably would be hard pushed to find anyone who didn't go through that. Yeah, at some point have that kind of like, oh, am I doing the right thing? And I think the other important thing I think to say, there will be people listening to this as well who don't have help, who, and my thing is like, as long as you are doing what feels right to you, that is all that matters. And I think, so I think that's such an important thing, like, for you to share, is just that kind of, that sense of like, no, this is right for me, because it allows me to fill my cup and to do what feels important to me. And then that kind of flows out to everyone.
And just to add as well, because I was alone with her for so long in the beginning, she was extremely attached to me, to the point where she almost didn't even want to go to her dad, which was very upsetting for him. So that was also a worrying thing for me, bringing a stranger in, because I didn't know if she would be okay with her alone. And once I realized that that was okay, it's actually not healthy for a child to be so attached to one person either. It means you can't do anything. You can't leave the house. It's not healthy for the mother. It's not healthy for the child. And now that she's attached to the nanny and her dad, and she's very much more social now, I think it's also healthy for the child to have bonds with other people. Like you said, it takes a village.
Yeah.
That is a healthy way to raise a child.
Yeah.
It's not really healthy for anyone to have this just one bond.
Yeah.
No, because that would surely make you feel even more guilty.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Whereas if you know now that you can leave her and she's very happy with the nanny or your husband, then it just, you're a bit like, like in the pressure's off without the guilt.
I think, like, going back to that phrase, I think it takes a village to raise a child. I always say it takes a village to raise a mother as well.
Oh yeah.
So who is in your village, would you say, Chloe? Who's your village? Who has been your village?
I would say, obviously, we got a nanny about a year after having me as well, and she's still with us now. Amy, she's amazing. I don't think I would be able to do what I do without her. The kids absolutely love her, and we love her, and she's part of the family, so she is our number one. I have a lot of friends here. I've got a lot of friends from the UK as well, so I do feel like the friends become family here. So I'm very grateful. I've got like my best friend living here, and I've got a lot of good girlfriends. And obviously to see you sometimes. Yeah, my coaching, my mental health, which is the coaching / shout. I make sure I prioritize like my health, my gym, my
So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about self-care. So the reason why I do self-care in inverted commas, for anyone who's listening on audio, is I really don't like the term self-care. I feel like it's become a little bit of a buzzword, and I think people can sometimes people feel like, particularly with mums, self-care can feel like another thing to add to the list of like, okay, I want to go to this Pilates class, and then they feel guilty because they can't fit that in. So one thing I always talk about with my clients is like, okay, what does real self-care look like for you? Like, self-care should always be self-determined. It should always, for me, self-care is all of the things that make you feel like you, that kind of connect you back into yourself. So let me ask you also, what does self-care look like to you? What does that look like to you, Chloe?
I think it's just prioritizing myself in terms of my fitness, making sure that I go to the gym because that makes me feel good, feel good in my clothes, and that is a massive bonus for me. Obviously, my yoga is a big thing as well for my mental health. And I have then busy work-life balance, so that just kind of like eases my mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes like just being at home on my own and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love to just totally Netflix out of the house, like no one in, and just like have an hour to myself.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
When you've just got such a busy life here. Also a bath every single night.
Really? Wow.
Every single night it's just like a bath. That's my time. Sometimes put a podcast on, or
That's great.
like candles, or just listen to some music. Like every single night is just my time for an hour after the kids go to bed.
That's amazing. I always think like if you can, look, again, life is always going to be busy as a mom, whether you're in paid work or whether you're, stay at home mom, I actually love that term, stay at home mom, but like, whether you're got to run a business from home, whatever it is, your life's always going to be busy. But if you can find like, even if it's just half an hour for you every single day, I might steal that. I might steal that night in bar. Yeah, yeah, night.
That's it. Sorry, what about you? I'd say similar. Obviously, fitness is important to me. So Pilates is like my hour and a day to decompress. But yeah, I don't know. When I lived in London, my me time was actually my journey to work. I would purposely take a bus rather than the tube because I could sit on the top deck. I could people watch, driving through night bridge, looking at your windows, and just it was almost like meditative for me to have that hour of just me time without evil TV. Obviously, I love to literally Netflix and but that was for me really important. And I'm a big believer in law of attraction. And in that hour, I used to kind of imagine where I want, and even if it's just from the day or just what my next steps are, and those things would actually materialize because 2 hours a day there and back, I'd be constantly thinking about these things. I don't have time for that anymore. That kind of meditation. Even if I took myself off into another room, she'd be knocking at the So, and where else can you go? Unless you actually go to a meditation room, but that's not really what I'm looking for. It's just that me time in my own head. So I'd say that for me is self-care. Another walk, maybe in the winter. Getting definitely not enough. Yeah. So I'd say that's important for me. Just that like me time in my own headspace. And obviously, the gym. It's really important. Yeah. What about you?
I actually think self-care is probably something that I struggle with.
Right.
In the sense that I just don't have time. And I know it's bad because you can always find time. But obviously, Ada finishes at 5 o'clock and starts at 7. And then I literally work from 7 o'clock and then just feel like the day just always flies.
You go to the gym a lot.
I go to the gym probably. Yeah, I go to the gym, but not probably as much as I'd maybe like to.
Yeah.
Or I don't necessarily, even though I work in the industry, go and get my hair done all the time. Or I have time to go and get things like that done. I feel like you've got to have priorities. So obviously,
yes,
it's the best priority, and then it's work. And then if I've got any time left, then brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned priorities because that's something else I want to talk about, which is this this idea of balance. So I get a lot of clients come to me because they're like, I just want a better work-life balance, or I want more balance in my life. And I immediately said to them, I'm really sorry to like shatter this illusion, but there is no such thing as balance. Like balance looks different every single day, and it looks like a constant daily recalibration of priorities. And choosing, okay, today my focus and energy needs to be here. Today my focus and energy needs to be here. Do you agree with that? What's absolutely understanding the balance?
Yeah, I think, there's only so much time in a day, and there's, things have got to be prioritized. And then over the weekend, obviously my husband comes back and I just want to spend all my time with him and Henry. So, I don't necessarily over the weekends want to go to the gym because I want to spend all my time with him. Or I don't maybe get to see my friends as much as I might like because I want to spend all my time with him.
Yes. So yes, love that. And that's it, right? That's the priorities. I think it's this kind of, I love using analogies, but it's almost like you've got like 4 burners on a stove, right? You can't, like, one's work, one's family, one's social life, one's mental health, maybe, right? You can't burn all 4 of them at the same time. Like, you're going to run out of gas really quickly, or you're going to burn the house down.
Yeah.
So it's a constant kind of turning this one up here and turning this one down here. And I think that acceptance of that is what can help people really kind of understand that, okay, actually, like, that's okay. It's okay. If I'm going to be more present here, I'm going to be less present here.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it works. Is that something that you feel?
Yeah, and going back to the thing about balance, I think you're right. Balance doesn't exist. It's just about finding peace in the way that you are prioritizing those things. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that since COVID, I'm hybrid working. So for a long time, I was working only from home, which was amazing. Well, pros and cons to that. But yeah, in the most part, amazing. And now I'm hybrid working, so I'm 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. And yeah, that power struggle of the guilt. When I'm in the office, I feel so guilty that she's at home. And then when I sometimes come home early, and then when I'm at home, which I'm still on working hours, I feel guilty that I'm spending all my time with her and not working.
Yeah.
So what I end up doing, and this comes back to your like burning out part, is that I end up working in the day in the office, coming home, spending all my time with her, and then she goes to bed, and then catching up on the work and finishing my emails or the deck that I have to finish or whatever. So that wakes me up, and that's
The invisible load.
yeah, and then it's like climbing hamster on a wheel and starts again.
This is a really difficult thing, I think, with this kind of like care career conundrum that I think we have. And again, it's like almost like a societal thing. You're set up, our society sets us up to kind of really over-identify with what we do. Like, have a great job. And, when we talk about like, oh, I'm Chloe and I'm a XYZ, I'm so-and-so, I'm a lawyer. And then you become a mom, and the narrative shifts to like, okay, now you have to step back from your life and be totally selfless and give your everything. So when you're a paid working mom, I mean, look, we're all moms are working. That's the real work. Like, just being blunt, getting paid for it. So when you're like engaging in paid work out of the home, you're having to battle these two parts of you that don't really agree with each other. And that's where that kind of like second shift comes in. What's that saying? It's like, mother as if you don't, I'm going to get this wrong, work as if you don't have children, and mother as if you don't work.
Yeah.
But that's what we're expected to do, Yeah. So how have you found that, Sonia? Because
yeah, I think now I'm at a place where, like I mentioned, I have peace with that now. And like I said, I'm lucky that I'm only in the office a certain amount of time. And my boss as well, he has 3 kids, so he's very understanding of that work-life balance. So I think that is a huge support to me. I'm lucky that I have that kind of setup. But yeah, I do feel like I'm wearing 2 hats. I go to the office and I'm wearing like, corporate / fashion wear. And then I come home and I put my jogging box straight on. My nose goes on top of my head and I'm on the floor playing an aquadoodle with her or something. Yeah. So it's like a Jekyll and Hyde personality, but I feel like now I'm at a place where I'm at work, I give it 100%. When I'm at home, I give her 100%. Yeah. And then I come second, and that's when the second shift starts, and I have to continue working just to get things done. But yeah, I'm fine with that. It is what it is. I'm lucky to have a career that I love and gives me enough money to sustain a good lifestyle and to provide for my child. And I'm lucky that I have an amazing daughter. So I think that gratitude of all of those things really helps whenever it is a tough day. It's just the gratitude about all this.
Yeah. Well, you run a very successful salon here, Dubai, and well, I know that opened very shortly. Oh, yeah, second door, which the was open the same day as mine. So just talk about without about throwing it all on you. Why? So how is that kind of like, what feels important for you, like in this?
I agree with Sonia as well. I think now I've learned when I'm at work, I'll give that 100%, and when I'm with the girls, I'll give that 100%. And sometimes like when I finish work early, I will not feel guilty to not spend time with the girls and go and like spend some time on myself. Yeah, and I think that's what I've kind of like worked through. So I think if you're working all the time and then you're going home and like having to spend time with all the time, you're just not prioritizing yourself a little bit, and that's when I can kind of like get on top and struggle a little bit.
I think that's what I see definitely is like people struggling to be 100% present in either role.
Yeah,
it's that kind of, you're at work getting the text messages from nursery or school or messaging the nanny or whoever it is, or like your husband, like, no, her lunch bag's here or whatever it is, and then you're at home and you're picking up the emails. So I love what you said about just that commitment to being, I'm here, I'll be present here. Yeah, I think that's really, really.
Yeah, so I think just being present where you are in that point of your day.
Yeah.
And then when you leave that, being present at the next point.
Yeah.
Really helps.
So as we start to wrap this up a little bit, what if you could give one bit of advice to any mums out there who are perhaps either new to their journey of motherhood, or perhaps they're, having a second child or a third child, maybe they're thinking about going back to work, maybe they're thinking about starting a business, but they're kind of feeling the pressure, right? Feeling like they should be at home, feeling like that's not the right thing to do. What bit of advice would you give to them? Sonia, you want to go first?
Yeah, I would just say that with social media and all of our friends or even our own parents who have children themselves, you just get so bombarded with advice from everybody, and a lot of it is contradictory, and a lot of it puts your head in even more of a spin. So I would just say, do what feels right for you in your gut, because you want to listen to it, but it all just becomes noise because everyone has different opinions, and I struggled with that. So I think do what feels right for you, and in terms of the motherhood side, the biggest piece of advice, not really advice, just a reminder that really helped me was that everything is just a phase. So maybe your baby isn't sleeping well for a while, it's just a phase. Maybe you're feeling really down this week, it's just a phase, and that everything passes. And when you think of it like that, you can see a light at the end of the tunnel when you're feeling really down. And that really helped me. If your baby's got acid reflux, it's just a phase,
Yeah.
just recognizing, reminding yourself that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that what you mentioned as well, just about the intuition piece, is really good. And I think for any new moms listening out there as well, I think that's a really, really important part of it. Because again, we kind of live in a world where we're sort of trained to outsource our trust. There's lots of experts and there's lots of Instagram accounts and there's lots of books. And I fell into this trap right when I became a mom. I read every book under the sun because I was so disconnected from my own intuition about what felt right for me. I'm going to forget, there's a great saying that goes, we think the answer lies in having the knowledge, but actually the answer lies in just being the answer. You are the knowledge for your children.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Ashley, what about you? Your answer?
Yeah, very similar, to be honest. I think what's really important is to just do you. What works for one person, what works for one child, it's completely different. And absolutely what you said about things passing. I've got friends that ask me questions now about, when Henry was 3 months old, and I think, gosh, I can't even remember. So it just shows that, it's all a stage, and it will move so quickly that in actual fact, in a few months' time, you won't remember that, you've just had 2 weeks of 4 months regression and you haven't had to sleep.
Thank you, I'm in that right now to say.
It's just a phase. And also just to do what's right for you. And I don't think there's any right and wrong. It's just what you feel at the time, and to not feel guilt as well. I think that's really important, especially in today's society. And also to not look at Instagram and think, oh my God, this person has it all. This person's got it, knows what to do. And also ask questions.
Yeah.
So Chloe was a massive support for me because I, unlike you, read no books. Didn't have the time. I went to the prenatal lesson, I think 3 days before I had Henry. So it's actually, should we be doing this? Okay, yeah, let's quickly just get booked in. And I just winged it, which is what I've been mostly.
That's probably why. Sometimes when you're having all the information thrown, that's what feels really overwhelming. So
there is so much information out there; it can feel so overwhelming. So it just just too rubbish.
Yeah,
you really just gotta trust your intuition.
Yeah,
and tap into that, and that will be the answer. My tip would be, if you are living here in England and you are pregnant or a new time mom, just speak to your husband and prepare for if you do want help, because it can massively help, and there's not do not have guilt around that, because I think that just really helped me once here, you having that bit of help. So just talk to your husband.
figure out what's best for you as a family. Yeah, have a shared vision.
Yeah, having shared vision.
Prepare for that beforehand. Yeah, that's a really, really good point, actually. I think getting on the same page, is really important. Ladies, thank you so much. I love that chat. And yeah, thank you for joining me. I know it's an early start this morning. We've got the rest of the day to get all of it. But yeah, thank you for joining me. And thank you very much again to Myko for hosting this wonderful podcast.